Do you ever wonder where your cash actually goes after every payday? Take Solo, a 30-year-old guy working a standard 9 to 5 here in the States. Like a lot of us, every Friday night, his money would just quietly vanish into happy hour drinks or impulse Amazon tech buys that just end up gathering dust in a drawer. One day, Solo decided to set up an automatic transfer, $110 a month, straight into an index fund. Honestly, the decision felt so small it was almost embarrassing. I mean, what is $110 a month compared to today's crazy housing market or the constant squeeze of inflation out there? But then, reality delivered its first little slap in the face. Right in month 1, his account flashed red. He lost a few cents because of a minor market correction. That immediate feeling of disappointment hit him hard. Solo was tempted to just turn off that autopay and blow the money on a good steak dinner just out of spite. But he chose to stick around, treating it like the very first rep in building his discipline muscle. Fast forward 1 year, and his account sits at $1,443. That's $1,320 of his own money, and a measly $123 in returns. That profit wouldn't even cover a single overtime shift at work. But Solo realized something groundbreaking. His life didn't fall apart. His month didn't collapse without that $110. That constant, lingering anxiety of being too broke to save was actually just a sweet little lie his brain had been telling him all along, just to justify his own spending habits. Once you make it through that first year, you'd think it's going to be smooth sailing from there on out. But real life doesn't run on Excel spreadsheets, and neither do our brains. Heading into years 2 and 3, Solo's journey hits some seriously sharp turns. Not because the numbers were changing all that much, but because his mindset was being tested by the temptations and the sheer noise of the world around him. First comes this invisible, yet deeply profound psychological shift. Remember how Solo felt in those early months? It was pure anxiety. That pit in his stomach every time his account dropped a few pennies. That habit of checking the app 3 times before bed, just praying the market wouldn't crash. But by month 26, something inside him shifted. His balance was up 10%, hitting $3,410. That number actually started to carry some weight. It had a real presence in his bank account. That's when Solo realized he wasn't opening the app out of fear anymore. It was curiosity. He was logging in to see how his machine was growing, to watch how the movements of the global economy were reflecting in his own dollars. This is a core psychological pivot that behavioral researchers at top US universities call the shift from a defensive mindset to an ownership mindset. Instead of seeing the market as an enemy waiting to steal his cash, Solo started looking at it as his own piece of real estate. But right when he found that piece, life threw a massive curveball his way. FOMO, the fear of missing out. Halfway through year 2, this crazy wave of speculation swept through his office. Whether he was in the break room, the cafeteria, or even in after-hours group chats, Solo couldn't escape the get-rich-quick stories. Coworkers who previously knew absolutely nothing about finance suddenly became overnight experts. They were flexing screenshots of their accounts doubling, tripling in value, just from day trading some obscure new crypto or a meme stock that was blowing up on social media. A close buddy of his practically slapped him on the back over coffee, saying, "Hey, Solo, you still dumping money into that boring index fund? Look at this. I just made your entire annual salary in 2 weeks. Cash out, man. Why ride a bicycle when everyone else is taking a rocket ship?" Do you know that feeling? It's like this invisible pressure crushing your chest. Solo looked back at his little $110 a month machine. It was too slow, too quiet, too boring. He fell into a deep pit of self-doubt. Was he being the biggest idiot in the world for standing on the sidelines while everyone else got rich? The urge to liquidate that $3,000 plus and throw it into the speculative hype was stronger than ever. Have you ever felt like Solo, looking around, seeing everyone else get rich quick while you're moving at a snail's pace? If you have, drop a 1 in the comments down below so I know I'm not alone in this. But Solo decided to take a beat. Veteran financial experts will tell you, the louder the music at the party, the more brutal the hangover when it stops. And sure enough, less than 4 months later, the speculative bubble burst. The market flipped, and those altcoins went into a free fall. The loud, excited chatter around the office went dead silent, replaced by exhausted faces, heavy sighs, and piles of maxed-out credit card debt. Solo's buddy quietly stopped sharing his portfolio screenshots. In that moment, Solo looked at his own account, still slightly green, and learned an invaluable lesson. Discipline isn't just about saving consistently. It's about having the ice in your veins to ignore other people's overnight wealth and stay completely loyal to your own system. But even after the FOMO storm passed, Solo had to face an even scarier enemy, the trap of boredom, sometimes called the Year 3 itch. As his journey hit the 3-year mark, his account balance was hovering around $4,000. Let's be real here. $4,000 isn't going to buy Solo a house in New York, and it's not going to let him quit his job to travel the world. But it is just enough money to trigger some serious short-term cravings. His brain started whispering, "Hey, that's a decent chunk of change. Why not pull it out and upgrade to the newest iPhone? Or take a sick road trip to LA? It's not like keeping it invested is going to make you rich anytime soon anyway." This is exactly what financial advisors call the boring middle, the graveyard of long-term plans. People don't quit here because they run out of money or because the market crashes. They quit simply because they are bored. True investing doesn't have plot twists or drama. It is as thrilling as watching paint dry or watching a plant grow millimeter by millimeter. So many people stop here, not with some dramatic exit, but just by skipping 1 month's deposit because they wanted to buy something else. Then they skip the next month, and before they know it, the machine stops forever. Solo had to fight that sheer monotony every single day just to keep his auto transfer running. And then, as the ultimate test of his perseverance, the market actually tanked. A major correction sent the US stock market plunging 14% in just 11 weeks. Across news outlets like CNBC and Bloomberg, sensational, panic-inducing headlines were bathed in red. Solo opened his app to a harsh reality. Over $400 of his gains, plus some of his principal, had just evaporated. His account had plummeted to $2,937. He felt that sharp sting right in the middle of his chest. That was the money he had scraped together by saying no to invitations and sacrificing short-term fun for the past 2 years. But this is the exact moment the instincts of a true investor woke up. Instead of panic selling like the crowd out there, Solo remembered the golden rule. An index fund represents the entire economy, and the economy always finds a way to climb back up after a crisis. Not only did he refuse to withdraw, but he let that $110 auto transfer go through right on schedule. No negotiating, no delays. Because the market was down, that $110 actually bought him more shares than it did 3 months prior. He was literally buying assets on clearance. 8 months later, the storm passed. The market recovered and hit new all-time highs. Solo's account didn't just bounce back to where it started. It surged to $5,225, $3,960 in contributions, and $1,265 in gains. The gap between what he actually put in and the total value of his portfolio was widening noticeably. Standing at the end of year 3 and looking back, Solo smiled. He realized that during the market's darkest days, he wasn't actually alone. A second contributor had quietly stepped into the ranks, depositing money into his account right alongside him by multiplying those cheap shares when the market bounced back. That loyal companion, the one who never panics, never quits, was time. As Solo's investing journey crossed into years 5 through 10, this whole thing stopped being just a theoretical exercise. This is the stage where real life in America comes at you fast and hard. It tests whether that financial fortress you've been building is actually solid, or if it's just a house of cards. At 35, Solo was hit with the kind of gut punch that makes any adult in their 30s break a sweat. Massive layoffs swept through his company, and his name was on the chopping block. And right in the middle of the stress of job hunting, more bad news dropped. A close family member got seriously sick, requiring a massive chunk of money for medical bills right then and there. Solo sat there, staring blankly at his computer screen in his apartment. He opened up his investing app. After 5 years of religiously depositing $110 a month, compounded with a 10% average market return, his account was sitting at a pretty hefty number, $9,020. The very first thought that flashed through his mind was to cash the whole thing out. It looked like the perfect life raft floating right in front of him. He could use it to cover rent, pay off those medical bills, and just survive the next few months. But Solo also knew a brutal truth. If he hit that withdraw button right now, the compound interest machine he had spent half a decade planting, nurturing, and protecting through all those storms of FOMO would be dead in the water. He'd be right back to square one, completely empty-handed. But in that exact do-or-die moment, another savior stepped in. And it didn't come from his brokerage account, but from another financial habit he'd been quietly building on the side, his emergency fund. In the past, whenever Solo looked at that cash, 6 months' worth of living expenses just sitting there in a low-yield savings account doing next to nothing, it drove him crazy. He used to think he was a fool for not dumping all of it into the market to get better returns. But now, when the storm actually hit, that boring pile of cash stepped up and took the punch for him. It covered the medical bills. It kept a roof over his head while he was out there firing off resumes for a new job. Thanks to this invisible shield, Solo's $9,020 investment account stayed completely untouched. Not a single penny was lost. The machine just kept quietly humming along, riding the wave of time to keep multiplying. That crisis taught Solo a lesson he'd never forget. Investing isn't a solo sport. If you want to protect your long-term wealth-building machine, you absolutely must have a rock-solid defense system backing it up. And it was that exact discipline that carried Solo to a massive milestone. Year 10 of his journey. Solo is 40 years old now. He opens up his account, and he can hardly believe the number staring back at him. Roughly $22,550. Now, let's break that number down for a second, because this is where you really see the magic of finance at work. Over those 10 years, the actual money Solo pulled from his paychecks and deposited was $13,200. Which means the market and time had essentially handed him nearly $9,350 in pure profit, completely free of charge. But the craziest part isn't even the total balance. It's the velocity of how that money is growing. By this point, in a totally average year with a 10% return, Solo's portfolio is automatically generating about $2,255 without him having to clock in, lift a finger, or break a sweat. If you divide that by 12, his machine is now spitting out roughly $187 a month on its own. Do you see what just happened? That $187 has officially crossed the $110 that Solo contributes from his own hard work. The second contributor, time, has officially become the primary breadwinner, depositing more money into that account every month than Solo himself. At this 10-year mark, a sort of quiet separation in lifestyle and mindset starts to happen between Solo and the people around him. When he hangs out with guys his age at weekend backyard BBQs, Solo realizes that they just aren't having the same conversations anymore. While everyone else is still trapped in the endless hamster wheel of earn, spend, borrow, complaining about the stress of bills and having to pick up side hustles just to stay afloat, Solo has this invisible sense of peace. $22,550 doesn't make him a millionaire. It's not going to buy him a supercar or let him retire tomorrow. But what it does buy him is the ultimate flex, the power of choice. He no longer has to swallow toxic behavior at work just because he's terrified of losing his paycheck. He doesn't feel the need to go on crazy shopping sprees just to cope with stress. He finally gets it. Every single $110 he keeps isn't a sacrifice. It's a brick. And he is using those bricks to build the ultimate foundation for absolute financial freedom. Heading into the next 2 decades, Solo's investing journey completely shifts from a boring saving story into a breathtaking display of math and time. This is the exact phase where exponential growth, a concept we usually only see on theoretical charts, starts to materialize right inside his account. It takes off so fast that it completely shatters the normal, linear way our brains are wired to think. Just look at Solo by year 20. He's 50 years old now. The total amount of lunch money he quietly scraped together from his paychecks over those 20 years adds up to $26,400. But his account balance isn't 30 or 40 grand. It has soared to roughly $83,600. Let that number sink in for a second. The pure profit generated by the market is over $57,000, more than double the total amount of cash he ever put in. His wealth machine is now running at a terrifying speed. On average, this portfolio is generating about $8,360 a year in returns, which is nearly $700 every single month. Solo doesn't have to carry the machine anymore. He has become a passenger coasting on a train he built, brick by brick. 10 years later, at age 60, the magic just keeps multiplying. Solo's total out-of-pocket contribution over 30 years is $39,600, a number completely doable for pretty much any W-2 worker in America. Yet his account balance has ballooned to nearly $249,700. The interest alone accounts for over $210,000 of that pile. At this stage, with an average 10% return, Solo's Komai is spitting out nearly $25,000 a year, roughly $2,080 a month, without him ever touching a single dollar of his principal. This is a bulletproof stream of passive income, giving him the confidence to smile through any changes or uncertainty surrounding Social Security. And then, the ultimate finish line appears in year 40, as Solo turns 70. Looking back at the long road behind him, the total money he accumulated from those boring $110 monthly deposits is just $52,800. But the final number flashing on the screen will absolutely blow your mind. Nearly $700,700. That massive gap of almost $648,000 is purely the reward for his consistency and the relentless march of time. Solo sits quietly in his home, looking at nearly $750,000 staring back at him on the screen. He thinks back to a Tuesday evening 40 years ago in his cramped rented apartment, where he nervously hit confirm on his very first $110 transfer, full of self-doubt. All those years with zero drama, all those market drops that made his stomach drop, all those times he had to tune out his friends talking about getting rich quick. It all stacked up. It compressed, and it exploded into a literal fortune. $700,700 isn't just a number on a screen. It's a badge of honor for a life well-disciplined. It's the ultimate golden ticket to absolute freedom, self-built from the most ordinary, everyday choices. Stepping out of that 4-decade journey, today's Solo is looking right into the lens to give you 3 core pieces of advice when it comes to index funds. First off, never wait for a huge pile of cash or the perfect time to get started. Index funds don't require you to be a Wall Street genius. They just need time. And time goes to work on whatever amount you feed it. Second, automate your investing journey and learn how to just forget about it. The absolute biggest enemy to long-term investing is your own short-term emotions. So, put the machine on autopilot and embrace the boredom. Treat that boredom as a green light that you're building true, lasting wealth. Finally, focus on leveling up your own potential instead of getting hung up on a specific number. That small initial investment? You're basically just buying the habit software. As your income goes up over time, that disciplined operating system you built will naturally help you scale up your monthly contributions. If you want to get started today so you aren't looking back with regret, drop a comment down below with the exact dollar amount you're committing to invest every single month. Make that promise to yourself right now. Small and consistent will always beat large and occasional. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so we can master this money game together. Also, make sure you click the link in the description to download my free ebook, The 7-Day Financial Declutter Challenge.